Judge scolds nurse for wearing scrubs in court. Her response makes the room stand and clap. You will not disrespect this courtroom with your unprofessional attire. Judge Raymond Collins' voice thundered through the oak-paneled courtroom, cutting through the low hum of murmurs like a siren. Instantly, every head turned toward the woman standing at the witness stand, a nurse dressed in teal hospital scrubs, her hands trembling ever so slightly, though she stood with her shoulders squared and her gaze steady. The tension was thick enough to choke on. Who was she? Why was she here? And why was the judge this enraged over something as trivial as clothing? In just a few short minutes, this nurse would deliver a response that would leave the entire room on its feet, applauding, and leave the judge stunned into silence. But first, she had to weather the storm brewing at the bench. Rachel Lawson had spent the past 13 years in trauma care. Her world wasn't courtrooms, it was fast decisions, bright surgical lights, blood-soaked gowns, and comforting terrified patients in their worst moments. She didn't deal with judges, she dealt with life and death. But today she had no choice but to show up here. Her patient, a little boy named Leo, had been struck by a reckless driver coming off a late-night drinking binge. The defense attorney was spinning a narrative, painting Leo as careless, a kid who ran into traffic. Rachel knew better. She'd seen the x-rays, she'd reviewed the trauma report. The driver had blown through a stop sign at 50 miles per hour. Rachel was the key witness. There had been no time to change. The prosecutor had begged her to come immediately from the hospital. When she arrived, the bailiff at the door hesitated. "Ma'am, I don't think you're allowed inside dressed like that." But there was no time for debate. The trial was already underway. Rachel slipped into the witness seat just as the prosecutor called her name. Then came the stare. Judge Collins' glare hit her like a wall. "Miss Lawson, do you realize this is a courtroom, not an operating room?" His sarcasm drew scattered laughter from the audience. Rachel felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. "This attire is not acceptable in my courtroom," the judge continued. "This is a place of dignity and order." Rachel's fingers tightened around the wooden edge of the witness stand. She could feel the defendant's attorney smirking from across the room. The prosecutor cleared his throat. "Your Honor, Miss Lawson is an essential witness for the prosecution." Then she should have made the effort to dress like one, the judge snapped. Rachel's heart pounded in her chest, her pulse roaring in her ears. She scanned the courtroom, her eyes landing on Leo's mother sitting in the front row, her face streaked with tears, hands trembling in her lap. Something inside Rachel cracked wide open. The judge exhaled sharply. "We'll recess for 10 minutes so the witness can find appropriate attire." Rachel pushed herself to her feet, her voice steady but fierce. "With all due respect, Your Honor." The room fell into stunned silence. People shifted in their seats. Phones stopped recording. She raised her arm, pointing to the dark stain near her elbow. "This right here, this is Leo's blood. I haven't left his side for the past 6 hours. I came straight here from the ICU. Because while he's fighting for his life, I'm fighting to make sure the truth is heard in this courtroom." She turned, locking eyes with the defendant. "You want to talk about respect? Respect is showing up when it matters. Respect is speaking the truth, even when you're exhausted, even when you're still wearing the clothes you worked in while keeping a child alive. So no, I won't change, because this," she gestured to her scrubs, voice full of fire. "This is what integrity looks like." For a long, breathless moment, the courtroom stayed frozen in place. Then a single person stood, Leo's mother. She started clapping. The jury rose next. Then the entire gallery followed, the sound of applause filling every corner of the room. Judge Collins sat back slowly, his gavel untouched, a conflicted look settling over his face. Finally, after a long pause, he nodded. "Proceed, Miss Lawson." Rachel's testimony that day was clear, powerful, and impossible to ignore. The defense attorney's grin faded quickly as the truth unfolded. When Rachel finally stepped down from the stand, even the bailiff gave her a subtle nod of respect. Because sometimes, respect isn't about what you're wearing. It's about the courage to show up exactly as you are and to speak the truth anyway. If this story moved you, tap that like button and leave a comment below to help spread stories that remind us. If you moved you, tap that like button and leave a comment below to help spread stories that remind us all what real strength looks like.